now, I think what we're looking to do is we look at our list of missions here. It is extremely short, and well, unfortunately, speaking of our prior Omega mission, I do think that these are probably just going to haunt us for the rest of our lives. I don't believe there's going to be any way for us to go back to complete them. I think we just missed them, despite us trying to be thorough when we were going through Omega, but alas, such is the way of things when you're going in blind, and so I think, it's the kind of thing that I just kind of accepted as a possibility before we headed in there. But what does that leave us with? That leaves us with either Priority Cerberus headquarters, the Elusive Man's headquarters have been located, and the Alliance is prepared to attack to recover the Prothean VI that holds the key to the Catalyst. Once the attack is launched, the Alliance will be fully committed to the final fight against the Reapers. Assault the base when ready. So, that means that, this is the point of no return, as we may have mentioned once before. Therefore, we are not about to go into this one when we still have the Citadel Shore Leave, which is the Citadel DLC. The Normandy is due for retrofits. The crew has earned shore leave. Bring the Normandy to the Citadel, rather, and visit Admiral Anderson's apartment. We got an email for this a while back. We deliberately held onto it, did not do this for a very long time, because it is DLC, and so it's not strictly defined when you need to do it, but in many, many ways, it is sort of the unofficial, ceremonious end, not only to Mass Effect 3, but to the entire trilogy, so I'm very much looking forward to this. How's it going, Firestorm Rebel? How are you? So, that is the plan, is to finally get started on the Citadel DLC, and that really is, in many ways, I think, the sign that you are approaching the end of the game when you are about to do that. I mean, you could make the case that same could be said for Sanctuary as well, but we're certainly getting close. And speaking of the Citadel, we are in this general area, and so we'll head over now. And so there's very few places left. Once upon a time, there were, I think 4 options here, where generally you have the Line Stocks, which is the main Citadel location, then you had all the other areas for specific DLCs. So Personal Apartment is the place to launch the Citadel DLC. However, before we do that, since we are getting very close to the end of the game, I think it is probably worth taking a look around the Citadel and seeing if there are any lingering things that we still want to do or purchase. And I know we've done a lot of that, just checking in to see, can we afford anything that we'd like to pick up at this stage? But we do, I think, have a fair bit more monies now after finishing Omega, so there might be a big weapon that we can afford at the Spectre Requisitions desk. That's a possibility. Other upgrades that maybe we don't care about all that much for Shepard, but might be more relevant for squad mates, or some of those weapons that we talked about previously that are more niche in terms of when and where they're effective, but in certain circumstances with certain squad mates could be a good addition. So those are the types of things that I think, if we have any intention picking them up, now is one of, if not quite technically the last opportunity, but we're getting very close to that.
You're cleared to dock, Normandy. Do you need ground transport?
And so for that reason, I think we're probably looking to go to the Presidium Commons, where most of the shops are.
I need a cab to the Presidium.
It'll be there momentarily.
Okay, so, as I said, we've definitely checked around a lot just to verify, are there other things we might want to purchase, but I'm thinking of the Elkos Combine Arsenal in particular had several weapons that we said, yeah, they're good, but for whatever reason we just don't feel the need to use them, and perhaps Rieger might be top on that list, to be honest with you, because Rieger, it's really strong. The only knock against it is that it is so strong that, at least in multiplayer, it has a bit of a bad reputation for just being the easy way out, getting simple, straightforward wins, because there's actually also one of the reasons why it's super effective is because there is a bug that makes a certain combination of setups turn the Rieger into just an absolutely insane damage dealer. So, I mean, it's really good. So, I think maybe we put aside that slight, and we probably do pick it up. Punisher, there are some people who are really big fans of this weapon. I personally haven't used it all that much, but maybe worth picking up. The Ados/Adis definitely falls under that niche category. where really good shields damage, and I believe it in multiplayer it's not held in very high regard. However, I believe in single player it may, so it's an assault rifle, so it fires, I think it's automatic, right? Yeah, it's fully automatic. I believe in single player it may have quite literally twice the firing rate as it has in multiplayer. So, by extension, may quite literally have twice the damage per second that it has in multiplayer. So even if it's not all that highly regarded in multiplayer, I think it is perhaps quite good in single player for that reason. And I think it also has an increased chance to stun, which, with a higher rate of fire on an assault rifle, I mean, you're not going to completely stun lock people, but it's an option for that reason as well. So those are perhaps top on the list of guns that I might consider picking up here. Executioner pistol, definitely more of a meme. Definitely more of a meme. This is one that shoots once and shoots incredibly hard, but it has ridiculous kick and ridiculous reload time. So it's very punishing if you mess up with that one shot. If, however, you are a fan of basically what is a sniper in pistol form, then this could be the weapon for you. It does have a very high headshot damage multiplier, so it does reward you greatly if you are good about hitting the target precisely where you want to. So that's another one that, personally, I'm a fan of, even though it perhaps is not that high on other people's lists. Striker perhaps also falls into that category. It's fully automatic. Yes, it's very similar to another weapon that is semi-automatic, but this one is fully automatic, and notably fires explosive rounds that, talk about stun locking, it's not quite shooting fast enough to stun lock, but it does stagger with even greater regularity than the Atis does. So I like it a lot, especially if you have a setup that allows you to increase rate of fire, like, say, Ashley with Marksman, or if you have Marksman on Shepard, then that could be a fun option for you. It's a little gimmicky, yes. In terms of pure damage, perhaps not as high as other options, but it's a little unique in how capable it is of stunning enemies, and for that reason, I do like it a lot. But again, I think I'm perhaps in a little bit of a minority there. Then we did talk about how I believe there is an achievement for buying 2 full armor sets, like not just, I'm going to buy a shoulder guard, now I'm going to buy some boots, and so on and so forth, like full sets, as in like Cerberus armor here, and I'm not sure if there are any others in this area. I don't think so, but other shops might have them. So those are all the things that I'm very interested, or at least considering purchasing. That shop in particular, I think. There may be others. Like this would be another example of a full armor set that we could potentially pick up. Same with this. I'm actually surprised. Why is this one more expensive than this one? This adds up to what? 40, 60%? This adds up to 30, 40, 50. Oh, okay, well, because it doesn't have quite as high stats, is why, in total. And fish. So, there are definitely, I think this shop has the most stuff that we might be interested in picking up, but before we buy anything there, we're 50 credits shy of 125,000, and there may very well be some big weapons that cost exactly 125,000. So, let's head over actually to the embassies first to go to the Spectre requisitions office, because I think the Black Widow, I want to say, costs exactly 125,000. So I think we might have just missed that by the smallest possible increment. And actually, I'm also kind of curious what Bailey has to say now that we did that quest with him a little while back, and that was so long that we had him just hanging out here waiting for us to finally do that.
So many pieces to put back together since the Cerberus attack. We're reeling from the implications. Udina in league with Cerberus trying to murder the Council.
Yeah, it doesn't look very
These
good.
are dark days for all of us.
Doesn't look very good. I don't remember if we've asked Commander Bailey about any of these things before, because again, it has been so long since we last had these options available to us. So maybe we just try one of these and see if they sound remotely familiar. Like maybe one of the ones that you just referenced that might be more of a recent addition.
All that time you were working for Adina, did you ever suspect?
Always rubbed me a little wrong. Still, that traitorous bastard upped me. Probably made me for an idiot. I guess I proved him right.
He's dead, and you're still here, Bailey.
Thanks to you.
True.
If you hadn't shown up, Udina and Cerberus would be dancing on my grave.
I think that sounded new. I don't think we've heard that one before, so why don't we ask about more stuff in that case?
How does the Citadel fit into the war now?
The war finally found us. This is so far beyond our imagination, and we have been trained to expect the unexpected. Since the coup attempt, folks are shutting down and shutting in. I hear a lot of praying and crying. They're saying this is the war to end all wars. Well, I haven't seen anything to say they aren't right.
Okay, that's great positivity there. What about the Citadel on the whole?
Can this station be defended?
The internal security breaches have been patched, but we're dangerously low on manpower. We're grilling our own people and trying to figure out if Udina acted alone, but it's time-consuming. All in all, we're still vulnerable, but I think we've taken the right steps.
Okay. I mean, I guess that's both good and bad news. What about you personally? I remember when this is dating back to the Citadel, what was it, 2 mission, when of course Cerberus attacked the Citadel, and the first person that we really saw that we could actually coordinate with on the Citadel was Commander Bailey, and he was holding down the fort. Might have had some other CSEC officers with him at the time initially, but when we came to him, he was, I think, by himself, and he was looking pretty bad.
Thought you'd be in the hospital.
If I'm breathing, I'm working. Probably the worst I've ever been hurt. Fitting, I guess, given the state of the galaxy. But if Cerberus thinks a few slugs is gonna keep me out of action, they've got another thing coming.
Oof. Well, he's determined. You can't deny that.
You hear anything about your family out there?
Not a peep. Always believed I'd get a chance to tell my ex-wife a few things. And my kids on Earth. I was supposed to visit them. First vacation in years, but I had to cancel when I got promoted.
Don't give up hope, Bailey.
Thanks, Shepard. I'm really trying not to think about it.
I mean, then again, we were the ones that brought it up. But, that looks like all from Bailey. And I think that might all be new.
I'll leave you to it then.
I'm here if you need me.
But it has been so long since we had the chance to just shoot the breeze a bit with Commander Bailey that it's hard to say definitively. But this is the main reason why we came here, was to see if there are any other big weapons we might want to pick up. Again, there are some ones that we've been eyeing here, some of which we might be quite literally 50 credits away from being able to afford. So let's at least see. Yep, like the Black Widow, we are 50 credits away. So, I mean, this is a really strong sniper rifle. However, it is similar to the Widow, and we do have the Widow. The Widow is, technically, I think it hits a little bit harder, and is a little bit lighter, but it doesn't have as much ammunition as the Black Widow does. So, we have that, and we also have the Javelin, which, by many accounts, is the best sniper rifle, but, you know, Javelin, Black Widow are all in that conversation. We can afford the Paladin, which is a solid, high damage, slightly slower firing pistol. But it's not bad. We're 50 credits away from the Piranha. This is another one that we were considering before. This is a really nice shotgun. Sort of hybrid shotgun assault rifle. Not super accurate, but high damage, at least at close range. Valiant, there's no way we're going to be able to afford this. And a sniper rifle that is very expensive, and given how we were just saying, you know, with the Javelin, we're maybe not in desperate need of getting any sniper upgrades anytime soon. I think we'll be fine. Then... Oh. I think... This is interesting. Upgrades to weapons that we recently picked up. The Valkyrie and the Chakram Launcher, I think both of which we got from a DLC. The Chakram Launcher was from Omega. Valkyrie? I don't remember. which mission it was that we got this on, but I think it was DLC as well, perhaps, and that may be why both of the upgrade options here for them are at the Spectre Acquisition Terminal. Either that, or there may have actually been some opportunities to pick up a second one in some of those missions. That's pretty rare, but I think it happened to us with the Eviscerator in Grissom Academy, where if a weapon does show up twice in the same mission, every once in a while, usually it's just that if you miss it the first time, it shows up in a different location, but if you do get it the first time, then it just doesn't show up in those subsequent locations at all. But on Grissom Academy, we did legitimately get not only the initial Eviscerator, but we also got a free Eviscerator upgrade. So it's unusual, but it does occasionally happen, so there's a chance we might have missed an upgrade for one of these. But, I don't know. I mean, obviously it's much cheaper because it's an upgrade, not unlocking the base weapon. But, I mean, if we were able to afford the Piranha, I would have perhaps said, yeah, go for it. But, given how we cannot, and are any of these things urgent enough that we would really feel the need to pick one up? And again, here's an example of a full-fledged armor set, but yeah, I'm unconvinced. I think Harrier and Piranha were perhaps the ones that we might have been most interested in, and to a certain extent, but perhaps slightly lesser extent, Black Widow were the ones we were most interested in. Given how we cannot afford any of those, I think we probably do pass. Oh, actually, tell you what, while we're here, speaking of those new weapons, why don't we take a quick look at the shooting range, because I have barely ever used the Chakram Launcher, because it is, at least in multiplayer, only a DLC, or rather, only a modded weapon, which is why I was actually really surprised at the time that we saw it show up at all. So, there it is. If we read up on it, the fancifully named Chakram Launcher uses an internal fabricator to manufacture lightweight ammunition discs wrapped in holographic tracers. The discs explode on impact, sending shrapnel tearing through the enemy. Markings stamped on the gun's barrel are a shipping code created by its manufacturer, Amalur Equipment. The code warns that the rifle must be assembled carefully, as it contains mixtures, this does sound familiar, extremely volatile under pressure. This is why the Chakram Launcher requires thermal clips. Without a way to dissipate the intense heat caused by its fabrication process, the rifle's circuitry would quickly destroy itself in a particularly lethal, spectacularly lethal, meltdown. So yeah, let's try this unmodded, because I really just don't have a good sense of what this weapon is all about, because I've used it maybe once in multiplayer, and even then I don't think I used it all that much. So, basic enemy. Okay. Reminds me a bit of the Venom and or Scorpion in that it shoots, and there's this little delay before it explodes and deals damage. Actually, surprisingly, the initial hit deals more damage than the explosion, unlike the Scorpion or the Venom, or at least Scorpion in particular, deals no damage on impact, and only after the explosion, after that short delay, does it start to deal damage. Trying to see if it dealt more damage to any one type of defenses. Looks like it might have dealt slightly less to shields. Not sure if that's a coincidence, but I imagine that it does not have a headshot multiplier, because this seems like it would technically qualify as a projectile weapon, but let's see. Yeah, that's the same amount of damage as we were seeing before, I think. So yeah, no headshot effect. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the same. Same damage, regardless of the type of defenses. Has that little explosion. I mean, let's reset, but, I mean, technically it is an assault rifle. I'm just firing a single shot, but I also just so happened to reloaded the clip there, but okay, that's semi-automatic. Is it? Oh! Well, yes, you can do it semi-automatically, but you can also charge it for way more damage. Okay, this is interesting. Huh. Okay. I mean, I kind of wish these targets had higher life, so we could more easily see how significant is this damage. Like, are we one-shotting all this armor? We are one-shotting all that armor. That seems like pretty impressive damage. Again, I would perhaps like for these targets to have a little more HP, and then we could, you know, compare this to other really hard-hitting weapons and see how it stacks up, but at least first impression is that seems pretty high damage. I mean, the damage bar here, at least as assault rifles go, is pretty high. Not quite as much as the Saber, but Saber is slow, hard-hitting, so that does make some sense that it would be closer to that. Yeah, it looks like Saber is the only thing, again, depending on, not sure how precise these bars really are, but Saber's the only thing that looks like it's higher than it. So, that's very interesting. Obviously, that was also unmodded, so if you want to add on mods, you can make it hit much harder. Are there any other new weapons we wanted to try out? Oh, there was the Valkyrie as well, wasn't there? We were just talking about it. Here it is. Look at this unmodded. And this one I have used a little bit. It was actually, I believe, the last weapon that I ever unlocked in Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, so I also don't have a ton of experience with this. But, also. But for this one, it is an assault rifle. It shoots in little bursts. That's, actually, that doesn't matter if you hold it down or treat it semi-automatically. Technically, I guess it is more of a semi-automatic weapon. You can spam it a little bit more to do that. Little bit of kick. Damage obviously comes in little chunks like that. I thought it might have had a slightly higher headshot multiplier than other weapons, but I might be making that up. And then damage against different types of protection. Generally, assault rifles not the best against armor, because armor has a flat damage reduction per projectile, and so if you're splitting up your damage amongst small projectiles, then that actually has a higher impact on multi-hit, smaller damage per projectile type weapon, or less damage per bullet weapons. So that's the Valkyrie. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of that one as assault rifles go. Again, I don't have a ton of experience with it, but just doesn't quite feel like it hits hard enough to justify its low rate of fire to me, or at least it doesn't feel like it has enough oomph behind it. The damage may be high enough, because I think it is actually a pretty high damage weapon. It's just that, for me, it just lacks that feel as if it's really hitting hard. What's up, Dark Warstar? How's it going? Just testing out some new weapons that we picked up a little while ago. And we are also, as we were just saying, unfortunately, 50 credits away from being able to afford things like the Piranha and the Black Widow. So that does kind of stink, because those were perhaps some of the weapons that we were saying we might want to purchase in the not-so-distant future. And does make you wonder, of course, if we just got one more piece of loot that gives us credits and we might have missed out on, that of course we would have had enough, or I don't know, other circumstances in which we could have potentially gotten slightly more, or there are some upgrades from Glyph that reduce the price of stuff at shops. But you know, presumably we do still have one or two more missions after which we will be able to purchase some stuff. So I think we'll still be able to pick one or two of those things up, maybe not both, but one or two of those things up before the end of the playthrough.
Spectre status recognized.
However, we really wanted to. We were just saying there were some things at the Presidium Commons that we were interested in picking up. We just wanted to hold back in case we wanted to buy any of those bigger things. Given how we are not going to be able to afford those things no matter what. What if we do? I mean, we were talking about it before. The Rieger, it has its naysayers. It's a really strong weapon. It's really cheesy because it's so strong, and there are some gimmicks with a bug that make it deal way more damage than it should deal. But I think we pick it up just for the sake of picking it up, because it is, comparatively at least, certainly quite cheap. I'm also very curious about the Aegis, because it is, I believe, considerably better in single player than it is in multiplayer, and Striker, I'm also just personally a big fan of, so I kind of like this too. So let's nab this, and then maybe that's all we'll pick up, because that, although individually may not have been all that expensive, collectively did start to add up a bit. Then, yes, we could pick up a couple of the full sets of armor to get the achievement. That may be something that we deliberately wait on until we manage to pick up one of the bigger weapons. One thing I should probably mention that I actually don't think we mentioned at all in this Mass Effect 3 playthrough. We talked about it a whole lot in Mass Effect 2, because Mass Effect 2 actually has a finite limit on the amount of credits that you can get in one playthrough, and therefore, you have to be very, very conscious of what you choose and choose not to purchase, because once you spend that money, well, that's just, there's, again, a hard limit on how much you can get. That is actually not the case in Mass Effect 3. Eyeing other things here that we might want to potentially pick up. But yeah, that is actually not the case in Mass Effect 3. In Mass Effect 3, you can get additional, technically unlimited quantities of money. Only becomes available fairly late on in the game, and so, and it does require a fair bit of grinding, I mean, as you would probably imagine if you're looking for unlimited monies. But that, for that reason, means perhaps if you're willing to do some grinding for resources, then you can technically be as aggressive as you would like to be when it comes to purchasing upgrades. SMG Heatsink was something that we thought about using on the Hurricane. It is technically, in terms of pure damage, one of the two best upgrades for the Hurricane. We deliberately have not been equipping it, at least on Shepard, because we've said we're probably not going to be firing the Hurricane all that much, given how we're mostly spamming powers and using the Acolyte, so perhaps we're not as much at risk of blowing through all of our ammo with it, but for squad mates, it does perhaps... I mean, squad mates technically have unlimited ammo, but it means less time before they have to reload. Yeah, I mean, perhaps we pass on it for now. And as I think we probably said when we were looking at that shop previously, if we happen to find ourselves holding on to more money than we know what to do with, then we can choose to purchase it. The high velocity barrel, I think, was actually the thing that we chose to put on our SMG instead of the heatsink, because the Acolyte can't pierce any cover, and so just getting some way to at least be able to pierce thin cover is useful. So that may actually be a higher priority, since it's at least something we are currently using on Shepard, and is a slightly lower level upgrade, so it's slightly cheaper. I think we do pick it up. I think we do. Then, thanks but no thanks on the AR scopes. We are not using an AR, and I don't think that's going to make a huge difference for squad mates either. So I think with that, we have done just about everything that we are looking to do in the Citadel, with one key exception that perhaps you may have forgotten about. I may have forgotten about every now and again, but then again, we've had some somewhat frequent reminders, so don't you worry. Don't you worry. We will make sure it happens. We will make sure it happens, and perhaps this is the right time to do just that.
Spectre status recognized. Please select a destination.
There are some additional shops at the holding area, most of which I think are melee attachments, which actually, come to think of it, okay, this is actually not what I was alluding to, but this may actually be worth taking a second to check out as well.
Now arriving at Docking Bay E24, emergency civilian housing.
Because, yeah, there's, I think it's mostly blade attachments for assault rifles and for shotguns, and the Kishok harpoon gun, which is another fun, gimmicky weapon that certainly probably has its cult following, but also I'm sure has many, many people who are not a big fan of this weapon at all, because it is quite odd. But shotgun blade attachment, certainly not anything that we are planning to use on Shepard anytime soon, but for squad mates, perhaps it could be. Perhaps it could be, although actually the shotgun Omni Blade might be preferable, because this one has a higher damage multiplier. It's 45% versus 22.5%. I mean, neither one is fully upgraded here. But this one does not have a weight penalty, whereas this one, because it has the higher damage, does have a weight penalty. However, as I was just saying, we're probably not going to ever use this on Shepard, at least not on this playthrough, when we're going with a power-based build that cares a lot about weapon weight. But for squad mates that are trying to do melee damage, they don't care about weapon weight, there's no reason not to use this instead of the blade attachment, and you aren't allowed to take both. So, sure. I think we actually pick that up. And perhaps we will see why that is in the not so distant future. Are there any other shops? Or was it just that one in this area? Might just be that one. Right? There's our VI over there.
Hey, I've assumed full control of Eclipse, and we're committed to moving forward with Arya.
Nice. Our plan to have Sane here take over has appeared to have worked.
I believe those are my credits.
Thank you, Commander. I've gotten food for my family, and for some of the others who are trapped here too.
I would love to say that I remember who this guy was. I kind of don't.
Thank you, Commander. I've gotten food for my family.
But great to hear, man. Great to hear. Okay, so that was the little pickup that is probably worth making here. Getting the shotgun Omniblade attachment for additional melee damage. But that was not actually the thing that I had in mind. I'll just take a quick peek over here. I doubt there's any squad mates here, but occasionally there is. Yeah. Not this time. Not this time. The thing that I actually was alluding to
Spectre status.
was heading over
Please
here,
select a
and
destination.
perhaps now you might be able to get a sense as to what I'm alluding to.
1 moment, please.
Something that we deliberately delayed for a while.
Now arriving at docking bay D24.
And I mean a long while. And we had somewhat frequent updates, or at least reminders, I should say, to it. And much like things like some of the DLCs that we deliberately saved for at/near the end of our playthrough, this one as well.
Shepard, if you're feeling up to it, I thought we could do something fun for a change.
Alright, Garrus. Shoot.
Shepard, glad you came.
What'd you have in mind?
Something that doesn't involve fighting Reapers.
Like consuming alcoholic beverages?
I don't think they've conquered the bar yet.
I already scoped it out. But then I thought, if this was my last day alive, I'd actually like to remember it.
So?
Fair.
So, I have...
Except if you're dead, it won't matter anyway, if you remember. But, fair enough.
Where are we going?
Somewhere we're not supposed to.
Oh.
Some things never change, do they?
Ever have that one thing you always wanted to do before you died, Shepard?
Too busy trying to live. What's yours?
The whole time I worked at CSEC, I'd stare up at the top of the Presidium and say to myself, I want to go up there. But I never did. There were 137 regulations telling me I couldn't.
So you got them changed?
No. Now I just don't give a damn.
Oh, Garrus.
Figured it's time to do something stupid just for the hell of it. Might be the last chance we ever get. A little busier than I imagined.
How about a dive in the pool?
You obviously haven't seen Turians swim. It's a lot of flailing and splashing, interrupted by occasional bouts of drowning.
You're right. I just have to save your ass again.
It'd make up for all the times I pulled your ass out of the fire. Noveria, Pharos, Ilos. We've had a hell of a ride, haven't we, Shepard?
It's been quite a journey, Garrus. Wouldn't have done it with anyone else.
Times like these, you know who your real friends are. They're not the ones running around looking for an escape route. They're the ones who stand at your side through the worst of it. Who never give up on you. I'm lucky I can say I know someone like that.
So am I. You're not going to propose marriage now, are you?
Ah, gee. He got us.
Now, before we head back, there is one thing we're going to settle. Once and for all. I'm not saying you don't know how to handle a gun, just saying some of us know how to make it dance.
Oh?
So, let's find out who's really the best shot.
There are a few people in the galaxy who've seen me in action, Garrus. They seemed impressed.
Yeah, but I've actually seen you dance, Shepard. No comment.
All right, Vicarian. You're going down.
So, of course, we're an
Don't
adept.
worry, I loaded it with practice slugs for when you miss.
So we're not really expert marksmen,
That was an easy one. Let you build up your
but
confidence.
that was an easy one.
Long range, I wrote the book. Nobody alive can do this, not even Commander Shepard. Give me a tough one.
Garrus, on the other hand, is quite the marksman. Shepard, that form is atrocious.
I said a tough one.
Step aside.
And so, we can either choose to hit the target and perhaps assert our dominance as the best shot in the galaxy, or we could say, I mean, you know what? Really, we're more of a biotic specialist than a marksman, so maybe we stay in our lane here and let Garrus do his thing and let us do our thing. You know?
Do it.
I'm Garrus Vicarian, and this is now my favorite spot on the Citadel.
It's windy up here.
Think I'm going to erect a monument right here. Bronze this gun so the whole galaxy knows.
That you're the king of the bottle shooters. Glad you're around, Garrus. Never know when the bottles might revolt.
Some reputation, and one of the most iconic scenes, probably in the entire trilogy. That is certainly one of the highlights for me, at least, and so I deliberately wanted to save that one, wait until near the end of the game, where it felt like we could make it more ceremonious than if we had just randomly stumbled across it when it first became available to us. So that's why I waited to do that for as long as we did. So that was big. Why don't we say it? And was, of course, Garrus's check-in on the Citadel, much like we had with many of our other, basically every of our other squad mates at some point in time, but again, given how we did most of the other ones as soon as they became available, and we waited to do that one with Garrus until pretty much the very end, there was a bit of a gap between them. But now if we use the Citadel Rapid Transit, perhaps we can... Oh. Okay, I wasn't sure if we were going to be able to go straight to the apartment from here, or if we had to go Normandy first. It does look like we may need to go Normandy first, so... Alright, it is a little bit inefficient to go back, only to go into the apartment, but sure, we'll do it this way. Okay. I don't think anything should have changed here. I doubt it. Don't think Garrus will have any... I mean, maybe you would check to see if Garrus has anything to say. I don't think he will, but just to be absolutely certain. Is he going to continue to rub it in our faces that he's the best shot? And so, like, obviously, I think there's it's a bit of a debate amongst the Mass Effect community as to, should you have Shepard hit that shot, or should you let Garrus hit that shot? Is Shepard the best shot in the galaxy, or is Garrus? And you can make a case either way, of course, but I think, at least, if you ask me, it makes a lot of sense to base that decision off what class is Shepard. Is Shepard supposed to be a marksman because Shepard is a soldier, or is an infiltrator that is sniping people all the time? Or is Shepard an adept, like us, or maybe an engineer that tends not to be focusing as much on shooting people down with weapons or using highly precise sniper rifles and all that stuff, in which case, you know, it perhaps would be more realistic for Garrus to be the expert shooter, because, I mean, honestly, the number of times we've used a sniper rifle in this playthrough, never in Mass Effect 2 wasn't even an option for us, so 0 use there. Mass Effect 3, was there ever a time when we broke it out, even briefly? Trying to think of when we first unlocked the weapons on Mars. What was the order in which we got them? Maybe we used the Mantis for a brief moment then? So like, maybe ever so slight amount of time there. Then in Mass Effect 2, or rather in Mass Effect 1, I know we're going in weird orders here, but just because Mass Effect 2 is an easy answer, Mass Effect 3, not as easy answer. Mass Effect 1 is the one instance where, yes, once again, we did technically have at least training for, well, we could use the sniper rifle and actually zoom in and aim, unlike with the original Mass Effect 1 game, where if you weren't trained on a weapon, then you just had absolutely atrocious accuracy with it. So we, I think, occasionally use that to scout out some areas. Maybe every once in a while, take a shot or two. But you could probably count on one, maybe two hands the number of times that we use a sniper rifle. So for us to suddenly show up and meet up with Garrus and say, "Oh yeah, we're the best shot in the entire galaxy," just feels kind of out of nowhere. And so that's why, the primary reason why I say, it feels weird for us to just come out of nowhere and say, "Oh yeah, by the way, we're actually the best shot," and we just haven't been using a sniper rifle this entire time. But believe me, that's totally a thing that we also are capable of doing, despite the fact that Garrus has legitimately been doing it this entire time.
Not right now.
Yeah, and he doesn't have anything else to say about it. He gloated enough, apparently, while we were over there.